There's this rule, a rule that everyone in personal finance, from the big shot advisors to your mate down the pub who's just found a budgeting app, love to throw around. It's the 1 times your annual salary saved by the time you're 30 rule. Simple, catchy, and for most of us completely and utterly soul destroying. When I first heard it, I was in my early 20s on a pretty average grad salary, just trying to survive in a world of sky high rent and a student loan that felt like a ball and chain. I did the maths, I looked at what I was earning, what I was saving, which was, let's be honest, basically nothing, and what this rule said I should have. The gap wasn't just big, it was a canyon. And seeing that number, that impossible target, made me want to give up entirely. It felt like I was already miles behind in a race I didn't even know I was supposed to be running. But I didn't give up, I got angry, then I got smart, I threw that rule straight in the bin, and by setting my own realistic targets, I managed to build a net worth of over £100,000 by the time I was 27. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why that one-time salary rule is so damaging and frankly a broken metric for most of us here in the UK. Then I'm going to show you the actual data for what people your age are really saving, which I promise will make you feel a whole lot better. And finally, I'll share the exact step-by-step blueprint I use to go from financially overwhelmed to financially secure. So let's start by properly tearing this myth apart. Myth number 1, you absolutely must have 1 times your annual salary saved and invested by age 30. Where does this even come from? It's a guideline, a rule of thumb often promoted by financial services companies like Fidelity to give people a simple benchmark. And on a spreadsheet in a perfect world, it makes sense. It's a neat and tidy progression. 1 times your salary by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, and so on, all to make sure you can maintain your lifestyle when you eventually retire. But we don't live on a spreadsheet, we live in the UK in 2026, and for the vast majority of people under 30, this rule isn't just unhelpful, it's actually harmful. Let's be brutally honest about why. First, the giant elephant in the room for any graduate, student loans. For most of us, this isn't a normal debt, it's basically a 9% graduate tax on everything we earn over a certain threshold. Before you've even thought about saving, a big chunk of any potential pay rise is already gone. It's a direct handicap on our ability to save from day one. Then there's the housing crisis. This rule of thumb became popular in an era when renting wasn't a black hole for your finances. Today, especially for those who need to live in or near big cities for work, rent is astronomical. It's not uncommon for 30, 40 or even 50% of your take-home pay to go directly to the landlord. As of early 2026, the average monthly rent in the UK has risen to around £1,367. When your single biggest expense is that high, the idea of carving out another huge percentage for savings feels less like a challenge and more like a joke. On top of that, we've been living through wage stagnation followed by a cost of living crisis. While the cost of everything has shot up, salaries for young people haven't kept pace. The median salary for a man aged 22 to 29 is about £33,176. Let's say after tax and student loans, your take-home pay is about £2,100 a month. If £1,100 goes on rent and bills and £400 on food and transport, you're left with just £600 for everything else. That's for your social life, clothes, holidays, and supposedly this massive savings contribution. The maths just doesn't add up. But the biggest problem with this rule isn't mathematical, it's psychological. When you set an unachievable goal, you're not motivated, you're demoralized. It creates what I call financial paralysis. You feel so hopelessly behind that you think, what's the point in even trying? Saving £50 a month feels like a drop in the ocean when you're supposed to have £37,000 pot of gold. So you do nothing, you just spend the £50 because at least that gives you some immediate satisfaction. The rule designed to encourage saving ends up doing the exact opposite. It creates a cycle of guilt, anxiety, and inaction. So we've established the 1 time salary rule is a fantasy for most. This leads to the second toxic myth, the idea that everyone else is hitting these targets and you're the only one failing. You scroll through social media, see people on holidays and buying houses, and you feel like you're being left behind. This is where we let the cold, hard data set us free, because the reality looks nothing like that fantasy. I want you to really listen to these numbers because they are the antidote of your financial anxiety. According to recent data from 2026, the average savings for a person in the UK aged between 25 to 34 is around £11,023. Let me say that again, the average is about £11,000. Other studies have found it to be even lower, around £9,357 or even as low as £3,544. Now let's compare that to the myth. The median full-time UK salary was around £39,039 as of April 2025, so the rule says you should have nearly £40,000 saved. The data says the average person your age has less than a third of that. Suddenly you don't seem so far behind, do you? Let's dig even deeper, because savings can mean different things. For people who have a private pension, 1/3 of adults with a defined contribution pension have less than £10,000 saved. And it's crucial to note that these are averages among people who have them. A shocking 1 in 6 UK adults have no savings at all. And get this, about 2 in 5 Brits have £1,000 or less saved. What this data screams loud and clear is that you are not an outlier, you are the norm. The financial landscape for young people in this country is tough. It is a slow grinding process to build wealth. The people who feel like they are behind are in fact the silent majority. That feeling of inadequacy isn't a reflection of your personal failure, it's a reflection of a broken, unrealistic expectation. Seeing this data was a turning point for me. It took the pressure off, it let me breathe and stop comparing myself to some phantom ideal. It told me that I could just get a little bit ahead of those average numbers. I wouldn't just be on track, I'd be winning. It shifted the goalpost from impossible to achievable, and that gave me the space to stop worrying and start building a real functional plan. This wasn't an excuse to do nothing, it was the permission I needed to start small and build momentum. Okay, before we dive into the exact step-by-step blueprint I used, I wanted to quickly share something that can give you a serious head start. I've partnered with IG, who I use for my own investing, to get you a brilliant offer. They are giving you a free £100 in cash when you open a Stocks and Shares ISA, a SIP or a share dealing account using my link. I'll leave the link right at the top of the description and in the pinned comment below. It literally takes about 2 minutes to sign up, and you don't even have to invest any money straight away to get the bonus. It is genuinely free money to help you get started on your journey. And while you're down there, if you're finding this video helpful, please give it a quick like and subscribe to the channel for more videos to help you build your wealth. It genuinely helps support the channel. Now let's get into the blueprint. Okay, so we've busted the myths. We know the one-time salary rule is nonsense for most of us, and we know the average person is starting from a much lower place than you'd think. This is where the real work begins. It's time to stop worrying about what you should have and start building with what you do have. So how do I go from feeling totally lost to building a £100,000 net worth by 27? I replace one big scary number with a ladder of smaller, concrete and achievable targets. This is my exact blueprint. Forget 1 times your salary, forget a 6-month emergency fund for now. Your very first mission is to just save £1,000. That's it. This isn't your full emergency fund, this is your breathe easy fund. Its purpose is purely psychological. This is the money that stops life's little annoyances from becoming a full-blown financial crisis. When the boiler breaks, the car fails its MOT, or you get an unexpected dental bill, this £1,000 means you just deal with it. You don't have to panic, put it on a high interest credit card or borrow from your family. It's the buffer that breaks the cycle of lurching from one financial emergency to the next. Scrape it together however you can, stick it in a high interest easy access savings account and label it do not touch. This is the foundation for everything else. Once your £1,000 buffer is in place, your next priority isn't saving more, it's getting rid of any high interest debt. I'm talking credit cards, store cards, payday loans, personal loans, anything with an interest rate of say 8% or more. Think of it this way, paying off a credit card that charges you 22% APR is the same as getting a guaranteed tax-free 22% return on your money. No investment in the world can safely promise you that. Every single pound you throw at that debt is working incredibly hard for your financial future. There are 2 popular methods here, the snowball method, which is paying off the smallest debts first for quick psychological wins, or the avalanche method, which is paying off the highest interest debts first to save the most money. I personally use the avalanche method because the maths made sense, but the best method is the one you're actually going to stick with. Getting rid of this debt is a massive step in increasing your net worth because you're shrinking the liability side of your personal balance sheet. With your 1k buffer secure and your high interest debts gone, now you can build a proper safety net. Your goal is to save 3 months worth of essential living expenses, and I mean truly essential. This isn't 3 months of your salary, it's 3 months of what you need to survive. So grab a piece of paper and write it down. Your rent or mortgage, your council tax, your utility bills, essential transport costs to get to work, your basic grocery budget, minimum payments on any remaining low interest debt like your student loan. Add it all up, let's say that comes to £1,400 a month. Your target is £4,200. This is the fund that protects you from your job loss or a major health issue. It gives you runway, it gives you options. Keep this in the same type of easy access savings account. Once you have this 3-month fund, you've officially achieved a significant level of financial security. You can start thinking long term because your short term is protected. The gold standard is 6 months, but 3 months is a massive achievement. So you're secure, now it's time to build wealth. You've probably heard of the 50-30-20 rule, 50% on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on savings. It's a great guideline, but for many, jumping straight to saving 20% is too big a leap. I started smaller, I aimed for 10% of my take-home pay, but the absolute key was automation. The day after I got paid, every single month I had a standing order move 10% of my salary from my current account into a separate investment account. I never even saw it. This is the single most powerful savings habit you can build. You pay yourself first. Before your landlord, before Tesco, before Netflix, you treat your savings like a non-negotiable bill. Then you learn to live off the remaining 90%. If 10% is too much, start with 5%. If it's too little, push it to 12%. The percentage matters less than the consistency and the automation. That automated 10% can't just sit in cash because inflation will eat it away. This is where you seriously start building towards that 100k figure. My strategy was not complicated and it didn't involve trying to pick the next Tesla. First, the lifetime ISA. If you're under 40 and saving for your first home in the UK, this is an absolute no-brainer. You can put up to £4,000 a year and the government gives you a 25% bonus. That's a free £1,000 every year. It's an unbeatable return. I max this out every single year. Second, the stocks and shares ISA. The rest of my automated savings went into this. An ISA is just a wrapper that protects your investments from tax. Inside that wrapper, my strategy was dead simple. I invested in one fund, a low-cost, globally diversified index fund, something like the Vanguard FTSE Global All Cap. This fund essentially buys a tiny piece of thousands of the biggest companies all over the world. I wasn't betting on the UK economy or the US tech sector, I was betting on the long-term growth of global capitalism. Every month, my automated payment bought me more units of this fund, whether the market was up or down, a process called dollar cost averaging. And of course, the workplace pension. If your employer offers to match your pension contributions, you take every single penny of that match. It is 100% return on your money instantly. Not taking the full employer match is like turning down a pay rise. This was a core part of my long-term wealth building. Finally, the thing that tied it all together was shifting how I measured my progress. I stopped obsessing over the numbers in my savings account and started tracking my net worth. Your net worth is simple. Assets minus liabilities. Assets are everything you own with value, the cash in your emergency fund, the value of your ISAs, the value of your workplace pension. Liabilities are everything you owe, so your student loan, any car finance, any remaining debts. I made a simple spreadsheet and updated it once a month. This was a game changer. Even in months where my savings didn't grow much, I could see my net worth climbing because my investments had grown, or my student loan balance had shrunk. This is the true measure of your financial health, and this is how you get to 100k. It's really 100k of cash in a bank. It's the total combined value of your pension, your ISAs, and any other assets minus what you owe. Tracking this number shows you the big picture and keeps you motivated for the long haul. So let's bring this all together. It's time to give yourself a break. Forget the one-time salary by 30 rule. It's a broken metric for a different economic era, and the data clearly shows that almost nobody is hitting it. You are not behind. Instead, focus on a system that actually works, a system built on realistic, sequential goals. Build that £1,000 Breathe Easy fund to break the cycle of financial emergencies. Aggressively pay down any high-interest debt that's holding you back. Secure your short-term future with a 3-month essential emergency fund. Automate your savings, pay yourself first, even if you start small. Use the incredible tax-free tools we have in the UK like LISAs and ISAs and workplace pensions to invest simply and consistently. And finally, track your net worth to see the real progress you're making. The goal isn't to hit an arbitrary number set by a marketing department. The goal is to build a system that steadily moves you towards your own version of financial freedom. One payday at a time. It's about progress, not perfection. And if you want a detailed guide on how to invest, I break it all down in these videos right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.